Her father prepared her for the challenges of the world. Her family supported her. She far exceeded the challenge. And you're tuned in to the Packard Network Live, and you're going to love meeting my special guest this evening, Mrs. Asma Shaikh, live from Karachi, Pakistan. And I'm really pleased to have her on board here with us today. And Asma, there she is. And good evening, Asma. Great to have you on the program.
Good evening, Brett. Good to see
great.
you after such a long time.
Oh, absolutely. Asma is the Chief Human Resources Officer, the head of HR of the National Bank of Pakistan, and this is the leading and largest commercial bank in Pakistan. 15,000 people plus tens of thousands of other, I think, contracted people. It's a huge institution, and Asma oversees all of the human resources activity for this bank. So she's seen, I'm not going to say it all, but pretty much it all, right? There's something new every day, probably. And it's one of the most challenging roles in the industry in Pakistan. She's going to talk a bit about some of the challenges she's got, but just briefly, Asma's got nearly 3 decades of multi-industry and cultural experience in different companies, different industries: banking, pharma, petroleum, logistics, and e-commerce. And in that banking sector, which is where we met at Barclays Bank in the Middle East and worked together closely over there, she's worked for some of the largest banks, okay, HSBC, Barclays, Deutsche Bank, and many others. So she's got just a wealth of experience. And Asma, welcome to the program. And why don't we take just a couple of minutes and we'll get right into it here. And maybe you could walk us through your professional life a little bit, just in your own words, your own journey, how you've wound up where you're at today.
Okay. Thank you, Brett. Thank you for such a generous introduction. Mm. And above all, I'm really happy to see you after a decade almost. I think you left Barclays in 2011, if I'm not wrong. So exactly 10 years. So yeah, I mean, just adding on to what you've mentioned, I started my career about 3 decades ago, almost 3 decades, 28 years roughly. I have started my HR career from ABN AMRO Bank, and I went on and sat on every seat of HR before I felt that, okay, now I'm ready to become head of HR of any organization. And the first organization that I got a chance to be head of HR for was Deutsche Bank. And also moved on to HSBC, which is also one of the greatest bank, and which trains and grooms their people really well. Moving on from there, it was another amazing experience. I had an opportunity to work for a bank which was starting their first operation in Pakistan, which is Dubai Islamic Bank. And when I just felt that, okay, just whatever I've learned so far, because banks like Deutsche and HSBC really groom their people really well. And I had the opportunity to, learn so much from those organizations. So I said, okay, now is the time to really test all my skills. And that was an amazing experience, because when you are a first employee of any organization, you are part of the founding team and you build everything from scratch. So it was amazing. I actually learned banking at that point in time, because nowadays, as we say, that HR professional has to be HR business partner, the business partner for the businesses. So in order to be that, you need to understand the business that you're in. So amazing time spent there, because we were able to do a lot of things which were expected by our shareholders and stakeholders. Then I moved on to Barclays, where we're working together. So I went to Barclays Bank Dubai regional office. I was there for 4 years. Barclays Africa, we looked at 10 countries from Dubai, and there a point came where group office decided that we need to look at Africa from Johannesburg. Why from Dubai? So they want to close down the whole operation and move all of intellectual property and everything, the same replica built on in Johannesburg. So I was given that assignment. So I think you left by that time. So you may not be aware that I was the last employee there in that regional office, because it was sad to see all your colleagues go, because in 4 years we really did a lot of good stuff there, and it was very emotional times. But when businesses decide to restructure, so you need to follow on. So I actually switched off the lights there. So like from first employee of a bank to the last employee of a bank, I took a full circle. So I think, I've been lucky enough to be part of organizations where organizations were going through a lot of changes, such as restructurings, mergers and acquisitions, and most importantly, building a bank from zero, and then closure as well. And these organizations that I've worked for also believe in development for people, career programs and career paths. So, trained in all these aspects of life, employee life cycle completely, like career development reviews, coaching, mentoring. So all these things, are coming in handy in where I'm working now. So my current role, as you've mentioned, is CHR of a National Bank of Pakistan. After coming back from Barclays, I came back to Pakistan. I was getting some opportunities globally at that point in time. And since I'm a very passionate HR professional, you always want to say, oh, you want to be global HR director somewhere. But due to family reasons, I had to come back, and no regrets, because I believe career is equally important. But I sometimes, if you have to choose between one, I would choose family, because that's how I've been groomed. So currently I am working as CHR of National Bank of Pakistan. Almost 2 years I've spent here, more than 2 years, slightly more than 2 years. And as the name suggests, it's the largest public sector bank in the country. The bank holds its operations in 1,500 branches all across Pakistan, and 21 overseas branches. And its total asset base is of 20 billion US dollars. And we have staff strength of about 15,000. And above all of this, this organization is going through major transformation. And I must say the chairman and the president and the overall board of this bank, they are they've taken a very bold decision to hire a female in this role. Usually in an organization, people say, okay, if you want to meet your diversity numbers, so hire HR professional as HR head as female, but usually you get HR head females, in that role. So it's an easier bet. But in this organization, this is the toughest role after the president's role, because of the nature of the organization and the transformation. We are at the center of this transformation. So the reason I got hired is that besides all the experiences I've had, I have been very strong in execution throughout my career. These are my strengths. So, and transformation, organizational transformation. So despite all these directions from board and management, we have been, because government is also very, supportive of bringing transformation into this organization. We have been facing a lot of resistance, because change is always difficult. People don't accept it that easily. So all sorts of, we are playing legal battles here. We're handling all sorts of complaints. We are, all sorts of harassment and defamation as well. But we've stayed focused. And if I look back in the last 2 years that I've survived here, not only that, but we've achieved quite a lot, because with the help of our senior executives, I've been able to attract a good team, and there's a combination of internal and external talent that I've brought in, and I've laid on a very effective structure for HR, which is helping us in this transformation. And now even the people in the bank, they're realizing that this was needed here. One big example is that for the first time in the 70 plus years history of National Bank, we were able to conclude the compensation cycle in the first quarter this year, which has never happened before. So now, in despite all that, opposition and resistance and all, people now are seeing the change that we are trying to bring in. But it's a long journey. It's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, that's right. And Asma, that's a big deal. I think many people watching this will will know this, but there's a lot of people that may not know this. That's a big deal to pay people on time, that many people, right? When you're building infrastructure and you're going through a transformation like that. So that's a wonderful achievement. It is a big deal, and it might sound basic when you hear the words, but it's easier said than done. Asma, I was thinking about this. We worked together quite a lot, as you mentioned in the past, and I was thinking of my own words to describe what I think of you, okay, as a professional, and so I jotted down a few. One is that you're tough. Another is you're empathetic, you're versatile, you're effective, and you're engaging. And you're a bunch of other things. You're a great, nice person, but those are the key professional attributes that I kind of recollect, clear as a bell from our time working together. And how are you able, I know you've got all those ingredients, but maybe you could talk for a little bit about how you got that. Why are you so tough? Why are you engaging? Why are you, because it's led to effectiveness in the real world. I mean, you've been successful at all of these places, right? Which is why you've gotten phone calls before to come work here, and then you get another call to work there. It's like a magnet, right? Is that your talent and capability based on these ingredients has made you very attractive to a lot of these global companies, right? And the company that you're at now is a great bank. I did some research on it prior to this, but let's talk a bit about, and I know that there's a lot of people who contacted me after I did the announcement the other day that you're going to be on the program that want to hear how you're able to get all of those ingredients and develop them, right? So that you can be so successful in an international career.
Thank you, Brett. I will shamelessly accept all your praise. So thank you for that first.
You earned it. You earned it. I didn't just make it up. And I think we both know that.
Yeah. The first rule, always accept the praise. So, it adds to your confidence actually. So, that's encouragement. Thank you, Brett. So I will go back to my choice because that's very important to understand. And for a lot of people to know that how one woman comes to this level and sustains her position and is successful. It just does not happen automatically. I was raised among about a dozen boys. Like I have two brothers and I have a lot of cousins who are all boys as well. So my father, he was a very forward-looking person, amazing. He was my mentor. He did not raise me like a boy. He gave me the strength and resilience to stand up and face the world. Usually say you should raise your girl like a boy. He said, no, I want her, he actually not even said, but he actually did that with me. Because I think he realized that I was the only girl around in the family. And, I was quite tiny and, small as well. And all my brothers and they're all like, big guys, big boys as well, like 6 feet plus or whatever. So that's something else. But, he felt that, not only this, just for me to survive as a child, but also to survive with them, for me to survive in the world, he actually invested a lot of time in me. He was all there for me. He inspired my work journey. He encouraged my accomplishments. He helped me make decisions and discover my true potential. He would talk to me at every stage, when I started my first internship, I remember I used to come home and he would come from his work and we'll have a cup of tea and I'll tell him, okay, I did this. And, he would just ask me to run through the whole day, how it went and how I reacted, how I, responded or did my work. So he really, really made me who I am today because he never made me feel that I'm a girl or anything. He said, you're a human being, you need to be very strong. And one thing I really know is that there's no comparison between men and women. They're both different and we need each other's support. Okay, so he's the one who supported me and brought me to a level where I could face the world with confidence and with resilience as well, and do whatever I would do with, he would give me such examples that even if at workplace or in personal life as well, when I was a child, that don't come to me complaining about someone, that oh, someone did that to me, said that to me. Go deal with it. Don't come to me. I'm there for you, but go and deal with that problem. So that was really very helpful, I must say, in the corporate world as well. So none of my bosses hear any complaints from me because I handle those problems. You need to find your way through your life in personal, professional, both. So what happened is that while I was doing this, going through my career journey in 2001, when I got my first leadership role in a multinational bank, I walked in an executive committee meeting to be surrounded by a sea of male counterparts. All were senior bankers with either gray hair or no hair at all. And that is the day I realized, Brett, that this is the day my father was preparing me for, that I don't need to be intimidated by my male colleagues. I was bold enough to be on that table, the only female there. And throughout that journey after that, in most of the conference rooms, I would be the only female. So, I would not just talk for the sake of talking, but at the same time, know your job, know your skills, be confident, and say what you need to say with some credibility, build your credibility among all of this. And later on, it just does not end there that, father raised me well, but then you grow as a woman, and I, later on, it was my exceptional husband, whom I was lucky to have for 22 golden years, who always encouraged me to take my career seriously. It was his, I must say, constant support that enabled my success in the corporate world. Even though I lost him early on, and but he prepared me for the life as well. When I was going through that shock, I have two sons, so both my sons were looking at me like I can still remember four beautiful eyes looking at me and wondering if they're going to lose me too. So my eldest son was about to start his, college at that time, and he got admission in Edinburgh, and he said that I don't want to go because I'm not sure about our financial situation, whether Mama is going to handle all of these expenses. And I just heard that, and I got up. I took control of the situation, and today, my eldest son has graduated from Edinburgh. He's back. He's working in a bank. He's working on a project of digital lending. My youngest son is in Vancouver. He's studying. He's following his passion of being a filmmaker and actor. He's doing his performing arts studies in performing arts bachelor's from Vancouver. So then I realized, now I look back and I realized, okay, this is the day my husband was supporting me for. You need, if people see me as a courageous and a bold and accomplished professional, I can't just take the whole credit myself. I was supported by these dynamic men in my life. And secondly, now, I have this current job is the most challenging job of my career because of the, its challenging nature. And now I take strength from my sons, because they say, when I have my days when I'm really exhausted and really, thinking, oh my God, what the hell is happening to me? So, they give me strength by saying that, Mama, if you won't do it, who will do it? And things like, you need to set an example that females can be successful in public sector leadership roles and bring about change.
So, do you, Asma? Yeah, I've got a question for you. I mean, this is wonderful. Do you actually think about the gender challenges before you go into a situation? Is it on your mind, or you just push forward? I know you get things done and you flourish with what you do. That's obvious, right? But do you think about the discrepancies in gender, and there's discrepancies in pay and equality and all sorts of stuff, and you've touched on just a few of them today, but do you think about that?
I don't, but I'm not saying that many women don't go through this. You know, in our country, I've seen a slow and steady transition of women getting into senior roles, and I can relate to them that we as women have to work not twice, thrice as hard than men to achieve to a certain level. Because I remember when I was at my beginning of my career, I have, you know, both my sons were born while I was working. So usually when women go on maternity leave, when they come back, people have these you know, preconceived ideas that she may not come back, and if she comes back, she's not going to, you know, give 100%, you know, that kind of things. And some women do suffer. Okay, but then there is injustice, and it is difficult world out here, especially in our country, where even though 50% population is female, only I think very minimal number have reached, like point something, have reached the leadership roles, and it is difficult to sustain your position. I have been lucky, fortunate enough, because I was supported by my family. I worked in good organizations. I have been supported by my male colleagues, the bosses that I worked for. Here as well, I'm being supported by a lot of people who matter, basically. But at the same time, I won't say that women don't face problems. They do, especially in our country and globally as well. It is an issue. But at the same time, what the message that I give to young girls that I see in young girls who are, you know, starting their careers, that it is a tough world. You really need to work hard to prove yourself. At the same time, don't give anyone reasons to victimize you as well. Okay, like sometimes female take it for granted that, okay, like example, when I was very young and at a very junior level, when I was pregnant, throughout my pregnancy, I was working. So I would come on time. I would want to leave on time. I would not take any breaks in between working lunch. I would finish my work, but then go. So we need to do our part, but at the same time, a lot depends upon surroundings as well. Not many women are as lucky as I am that the family support is there. They don't get that support. So it's for us, you know, leaders like us, me and my colleagues or male colleagues, or whoever, people like you, how we can help such women grow. I think that's our responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's great. And then what advice would you give any woman that is brilliant and wants to succeed, wants to thrive in a global environment, but is just shy? And the reasons for the shyness is cultural, right? You know, Asia's a great example of that as well. That some of the brightest women that I know are in Asia, and not all of them. I've had many on this program, and many more to come. But some are just shy, and they just say, "Oh, you know, I just don't think I'm ready for that, Brett." When I know that they're more than ready for it, right? Yeah. But they just don't seem to culturally have the confidence to do that. What advice would you give a woman in that situation?
Look, it's a very common, even in our country, that women don't want to take certain roles because they said, okay, it will require a lot of, you know, long hours sometimes and more responsibility. We're happy with 9-to-5 job and like back-end job. You don't want to do that because their social setup and personal setup doesn't support them. I would say, you know, if you don't raise your hand, if you don't take initiative, you're not courageous enough, you will not grow in your you know, career. But if that's what you want to, because I don't, you know, I've come to a point that I know that there's certain females, I've seen so many of them, that I feel that they cannot do more than that. So it all depends on people around them to support and push them. Otherwise they will just be in their shell. They will not come out of it. But if someone wants to do more, they need to raise their hand. Nothing will come to them automatically. So then they should not even complain about that. You know, you need to do something about it. You need to be courageous. You need to take bold steps. You need to learn more. You need to enhance your knowledge, because when you speak, it's all about communication, how you present yourself. Okay, you may be shy. You may be, I would say, if you're an introvert, being an introvert doesn't matter. It's a quality. It's your personality. Nothing wrong with that. But as long as you know your job, well, you're well read. You know what your job is, how you're doing it. You're doing it with efficiency. You're putting your full commitment to it, and you're doing it with positive attitude. You will be seen that you're delivering. So the execution is very, very important. Knowledge,
Right.
learning, attitude.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to execute in a way that people recognize it. Unless until you do that, nobody will recognize you. It won't come automatically to you. You need to do it for yourself.
Yeah, because this particular topic we're talking about right now, some of these people are so brilliant, have so many ideas that could actually help solve many of the world's problems, right? Because they've got it right here in between the ears, right? And so smart, right? And it's just a matter of, like you said, raising your hand, stepping up, and be heard, because there are platforms that do want to hear these ideas, right? In the workplace, there's many of them. I'm sure you've created a lot at your bank as well, where people have the opportunity to speak. And Asma, as we start to wind down, I know you're passionate about gender equality, and you've done a lot of programs there in Pakistan and other parts of the world. What are some of the things that you're doing in this space right now?
I've recently got this, certification for executive coaching. For different organizations that I've worked for, they train you internally to be a coach or a mentor, but I thought that I need to take a professional. So I did it from ICF and I got it. So now that I'm certified to do an external coaching, so I usually pick one or two girls for a quarter, young girls who are passionate about starting their career in different fields. Doesn't necessarily have to be a corporate world. They want to do their own business or something like, something like cottage industry type of thing. So, something small, or they want to do some wonders in the corporate world. So I executive coaching to them, or like some sort of mentoring to them, guiding them in a way so that they can do better, get some guidance. I don't charge them. I feel that's my, I might start charging people when I retire, and that's my full-time job. But right now it's like, I just feel that's how I can contribute.
That's great. Yeah.
Most of the girls in my family, my nieces, from my husband's side and my own family, I try to coach them, guide them wherever I can, personally and professionally. Because you have to start from your family. And so that's something I do when students call me for certain webinars, and they want some guidance, they want some counseling, career counseling. I do that. I'm not able to do a lot because of my full-time job, but I try to do it whenever I can. And I think any C-level executive who's working, no matter which part of the world, I think if we can take out some time, at least even 2 hours in a month, to do something like this, we can help a lot of women, especially because they don't know how to get to enter some business, or they enter in some corporate world. And even if they're there, how to grow, how to make their presence felt. So I think if we can help this way, anyone, even if I'm able to help 10 women, I would be really happy that I've done that. Why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we're going to help more than 10 women that are either watching this live now or will watch it on replay. So I have no doubt about that, based on the wisdom you're sharing. Asma, one last point. If you became the CEO of a large company, okay, and your leadership team unfortunately consists the majority male, okay, what would your advice be to your leadership team to improve the diversity across that leadership team? Say there were 12 people, right? And let's say that 9 were men, is probably typical, and 3 were women. That's your starting point, right? And we all know through statistics, there's hard data out there that shows that the more diverse you are, the more effective your performance is, right? So what would your advice be, just if you could cite one or two things? You come in and you're the boss, and what would you say?
I would say 50% male and female, ratio, because it's a very safe route. Usually, leadership teams take is that, well, we tried, we couldn't find any, so that's an excuse. And
Right.
if you can't find any, you have to groom them, then develop them to bring them to that. Unless until you do that, you will not be able to do justice to this cause, because, and especially for our country, there are 50% female population in the country. So if we don't let those 50% work, or in whatever way,
right,
forget about our GDP, it cannot be at a level that we want. We need them to contribute. So it's our responsibility. We do it.
Let's give them the opportunity, to do this, I've done programs before, and I'm sure you've done them as well, where let's say that for every open position, you need to interview at least 2 female candidates for that, right? Doesn't mean you're going to hire the female in all cases. We're not saying that,
encourage them to apply. Yeah.
Right.
And also for board seats in our country, the rule has been passed that listed companies need to have 1 female board director. So it's mandatory. They are doing it. But then also what they do is, once it is 1, they don't want a second one. So we have 1, we don't want more. So this is the mindset which needs to be changed.
Exactly. It's a mindset that needs to be changed. And I think at this point, obviously it's up to people like you, and obviously the CEOs of the companies need to make this happen, and not hire females for the sake of meeting a target, right? That's not, nobody's saying that, but it's saying create the opportunities to tap in to the enormous mindset, the smart people, the brains, of these women worldwide in any country, right? There's enormous opportunity for that. So I'm sure that Asma, be talking in the future more about this. I'd love to have you back on the program in the future, and maybe we can, dive deeper into some of these points. But it's great to have you here. Any parting words from you?
Thank you, Brett. Anytime available to discuss anything. If I could be of any use, why not?
Great. Absolutely. Well, certainly. And I'm sure we'll have you back on that. So thank you so much, Asma, for your time today. And everybody, next week, the cameras are going to move down to one of my favorite countries in the world, back to Zambia. And I'll have a very special guest from Zambia that Asma knows, and from our time together. And I'll announce the details of who that is and what time that'll be next Thursday. So I look forward to that. And thank you all so much for tuning in to the Packard Network. And Asma, thanks once again for all of your